Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, YouTube exclusive with myself, JP Dinnell, and Lucas. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
What you got?
Well, apparently my boyfriend's hoodie. That's what I'm saying. I'm losing. I've lost a little bit of weight, and so now all my clothes are just a little baggy. But I'm not at the place where I can wear like my band guy clothes because I'm a little too chubby for those. So I'm in this like just terrible purgatory of garments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not at the stage where Josh Strasburger is, where all of the stuff that he's got this year now no longer fits because it's too big.
No, I haven't. I'm at the stage where people are like, "You've lost a lot of weight. I can tell in your face." I'm like, "How fat was my head?"
Well, no, when people lean up right away in their face, it's no.
But I know. I just want to know why nobody ever told me that I had a Kool-Aid man head. And they're just looking at me and just. And then, all right, you ready for some Q&As?
Yeah.
What's up with country and western? What's the difference between those two? No legitimate question that's on our posts.
I don't know.
You know,
I don't have enough knowledge on.
you're wearing a jean jacket. I thought it was appropriate to ask.
I am the new Orchard teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, actually, I know there is a difference, but I guess it would be like the style is going to be different, and that style would be determined based off of, I don't know, would it be like the instruments and the way the instruments, like how they're being played in regards to. I mean, you're the musician.
Bro, this is also a question that I have. Is what's the difference between country and western? If you have the answer for us, please enlighten us.
I've never thought of that. I mean, it makes sense. I know what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I've never thought of that.
Because when people are like, "Oh, what's your favorite kind of music?" You're like, "Oh, country and western." And you're like, which one? Because that sounds like, but it's the same thing. Like, what's like? Do you like rock and roll? What's the difference between the rock and the roll? Because they're like, it's
That's all.
like that like country and western seems like it would have to be the same thing since rock and roll are the same thing, right? You don't separate the two.
Okay. No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and then like I don't think that there is a difference. Nor do I feel like we're qualified to answer this question. Though I appreciate that people are willing to ask it of us.
Yeah, that's.
Well, really, to ask it of you because you are the expert.
Yeah, I think.
Well, they don't know that. So,
All right.
oh, you got an answer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
you Googled it?
No.
No.
So you wouldn't have to know from my phone when I take notes of random enlightening thoughts that I have. Country music is a type of Western music.
Oh, it's a
And the two genres share many similarities, but they do have some distinct differences. Origin. Country music originated in the American South and Southwest, while Western music originated in the Western United States and Western Canada. Roots. Country music has roots in Appalachian folk music, jazz, and blues. Western music has roots in cowboy and nomadic culture, as well as ranchero and southwestern music, polka, and other folk styles. Isn't it awesome? Like, as you read stuff like this and you learn about it, like, I was thinking, okay, I know there's differences. I couldn't articulate the differences, but then when you read that, you're like, okay, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Somebody has articulated differences.
Instrumentation. Country music is often played with instruments like banjos, fiddles, harmonicas, and guitars. Style. Country music is known for its ballads and dance tunes. Did I say that right?
Ballads, yeah.
Ballads and dance tunes.
It's like Meatloaf. Meatloaf wrote a lot of ballads.
And is often described as soft and warm. Western music is often described as gritty.
Ooh. Like Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard's.
Yeah.
But he's just the one Haggard. He's not.
History. The music industry in the mid-20th century grouped Western music with similar folk origins to create the genre of country and Western music. Over time, the term was simplified to country music.
There you go.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Country music originated from working class American people, while Western music came from the western part of the U.S. and Western Canada. Those roots.
From hoity-toity jerks, not working class stiffs.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
I thought losing that question was
We all learned something from that question now.
smart, Alec.
Probably, but you had a good answer for it because you are the expert. Question number 2. This is coming from the other side of the globe, from just across the pond and I guess into the EU. I don't know what the UK's relationship with the EU is like right now. I never did much research into how Brexit happened. But okay, this is off of the question from our Actions Over Words, Exposing Weakness and Empathy is a Secret Weapon, episode 049. Oscar Norlander, all these lost opportunities because not picking up an idea. I had 2 businesses in life and none of them went big. LOL. It's also a good thing to learn when to stop investing time into something. I know my limit. However, how do you guys make the decision not to invest time into a project? Thanks for the episode.
It's a very timely question.
Yeah, it is.
Grapple
apps.
I think.
Shout out to Space Coast Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, man. I think you have to do an honest self-assessment of your bandwidth and remember desire and capabilities are 2 different things. And I have the desire to do a lot of things. I am not capable of doing many things. And so I have to understand what my capabilities are. I have to be honest with the assessment that I do of myself in regards to what am I capable of, what am I going to actually be able to accomplish, and then I work from there.
Yeah.
And you have to be realistic with like how important is this? If you're like super passionate about something, then I say burn the boats, go all in and make it happen. But if it's like, oh, I would like to be a part of this, be smart because time is one of the greatest assets that you have access to and is limited. And it is fleeting and it is fading away and you can't speed it up, you can't pause it, you can't rewind it. You can't do anything with that time, Oscar, other than make the most of it. I know I've talked about this a lot on this podcast, but I think it's a good reminder to remember that our time is very precious. Like to me, it's crazy that people will spend the night overnight in a parking lot in front of a store to get first access to go into a store to save $50 on something that if they waited a week, they could get the same deal.
Yeah.
They'll spend 24.
You're talking about like the Black Friday shoppers and all that stuff.
There's other things like there's other events that have that and people do that. And hey, if you're doing it for the experience with your friends, cool. I'm all about that. But if you're spending 24 hours sleeping in a parking lot so that you can be the first in the store to save $50 to $100, or even let's just say a couple $100, to me that's absolutely insane because you don't value your time. So I think we have to understand what is our time worth and be respectful of ourselves and our time and just learn that it's okay to say no to certain things and that you don't have to do everything.
Right on.
And set proper boundaries. Like I know one thing that Steven is very good at is Sunday is his Sabbath with his family.
Yeah.
And he is very limited on his communication and his responses on Sundays because that's his family time.
I don't know, it was limited to Sundays.
Shots fired at Steven.
No, that's awesome to protect that time and to know, like, that's how Fridays are for me typically.
Yeah, I know that. And that's why
Yeah.
I try not to
Like,
ever
we don't try to schedule things on
we
Fridays.
don't schedule things, and I honestly try not to like even communicate with you on Fridays unless I have to. I mean, you're my buddy and I like us talking about stuff, but I also know Fridays are special to you.
Well, and like, I don't think you heard from me at immersion camp unless you started the conversation.
I noticed that.
Yeah, for the same reason. Like, hey, you got stuff you're doing. This is your time with your family.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of people that feel like, oh, well, if I'm telling people they can't communicate with me, that's being a jerk to them or whatever. Like, if you've got people that love and respect you and you have good relationships with, saying, hey, listen, Friday's my family day, or, this week I'm going out of town to spend time with my family and that's what it's going to be about for me, they're not going to get upset. And they're going to also realize, like, hey, you know what? This can wait, or whatever. All right, so this is off of episode 048, Losing a Teammate, Establishing Credibility, Next Gen Leaders of the JP Dinnell podcast. You mentioned on the podcast that a entrepreneur or a business owner should be working 40 hours a week minimum. How does that apply to the average worker? Studies have shown, and we did a comparison over time, when we worked above 40 hours, around 50 plus, we did produce more, but we also made more mistakes. The mistakes resulted in even more work and loss of trust from our customers. But when we put it around 40 hours a weekend, we had higher quality, but we did produce less. However, there was no damage in the relationship because we had not produced as many mistakes. I just add this because sometimes more hours in the wrong business can be counterproductive, especially when it's your frontline workers and not your vision carriers.
Well, you just answered the question with that last statement. I did say your frontline workers need to be putting 40 hours plus.
Right.
You as a business owner should be expecting to do well more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that apply to some of us then that are in like the middle management positions, right? Because we may not be like the vision carriers for our organization, but also
vision.
yeah, but also like if we're not thinking about ways to improve in our department or in our field or whatever, our area of responsibility, well then we're not going to see the success that we want to have, especially if that success for us is related to promotion and more responsibility and higher incomes.
Yeah.
So how do you balance those things?
Well, I mean, you just, like, at your statement, I heard the answer in your statement because you have to be willing to put in that extra time. When you're in a leadership position, like, it's part of being in that leadership position is a burden that you should be thankful that you get to carry because you're in a leadership position that and that you're thinking about things. And it's just not just a 9 to 5. It's not a mindless task. When you're in a leadership position, it's not a mindless task. There is a very real burden associated with those men and women that work for you being reliant upon you as a leader to make sure that the company's growing and expanding and you're carrying the vision from the executive team, from the owners of the company, and helping facilitate the execution of the tasks needed to accomplish the goals to hit that vision, right? And you're helping facilitate the tactical work every day to fulfill the strategic vision and needs. When you're in a leadership position, that just it's not going to shut off.
Right.
And if it does, then you're not going to be a great leader. I'm not saying you need to be 24/7 thinking about it. And I do know people that have a hard time shutting it off. But guess what? They're also doing great things with their life.
Yeah.
And, there's, people that make the comments like, oh, this whole no sleep thing, blah, 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 like you need sleep. You're right, you do need sleep, but there's a balance there. And it's funny, it's like the people that mock people that are putting in the hours are usually the ones that are living paycheck to paycheck. They can't even afford to take their family on a vacation. They can't afford to go do nicer things. And because of their insecurities, they're mocking the people that are putting in the hours, that are running on limited sleep, that are actually doing things.
Yeah.
And so I'd be careful getting sucked into that category. And I know this is a slight tangent, but it's the whole mindset behind it that I'm talking about. If you're a business owner and or part of the executive senior leadership team, or you're wanting to grow into that, this is more than a 9 to 5. This should be your lifestyle because this creates the lifestyle that you have. What you get out of this company that you're working for creates lifestyle. I'll never be an owner of Echelon Front. I'll never be an owner. I'm a senior executive leader in the company. Echelon Front has given me a great lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because I don't treat it as a 9 to 5. The last almost 8 years, it hasn't been a 9 to 5. It's everything that revolves around the growth of Echelon Front, the development of Echelon Front, and the development of me as a leader. And I'm not saying I'm a great leader, but I'm trying to be a better leader every day and help build out teams and facilities and help people. So because I'm always thinking about those things, and I've talked about this before, like there's been times where I've called Jamie Cochran to talk through things and it's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Or I'll text Jen Tarantino about a trip that has something, coming up, or I'll be doing things on Sunday afternoon. Like I have a little bit of lull time and a little lull in the day, and I have a little bit of free time. I'm going to my office and working on stuff. I also have a lifestyle that I know a lot of people would quickly trade,
right,
if they had that ability to do so. So go out and earn it.
Yeah.
You've got to put in the work.
I think there's like a thing to piggyback off of what we were just talking about.
And you can't expect all your people to want to do that. And it's fine.
100%.
There's we've talked about this, and we can elaborate on this more in the future on squatters, renters, and owners.
Yeah.
I have the owner mentality. And if you're in a senior leadership position and or an entrepreneur that owns a company, you better have that owner mentality.
100%.
The rest of your 9-to-5ers, those are your renters, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Now you can get a renter to start thinking like a homeowner over time, but you have to create that culture and that mindset. They have to understand the value of going above and beyond.
Yeah, making those shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, coming on the back of what we were just talking about, like so much of that being an owner and doing that kind of thing is also like scheduling in that downtime.
Yep.
Scheduling in the time to, whether it's to work out or surf or time for your family or whatever that is. If you're not scheduling in that downtime, then your productivity is going to slip because you're not allowing your body and your brain the time that is necessary for it to recharge. And then the next thing I wanted to hop into, which you kind of mentioned, is the glass ceiling, right? You said like I'm never going to be an owner of Echelon Front. Like those positions are taken. You've kind of reached,
I'm fine with that.
where you're at. But there's a lot of people that in their organizations, they may be feeling like they're hitting that glass ceiling. So, and this is
But as the building grows, your glass ceiling
So
rises with it.
that's what I was going to ask is like when do you determine that it's time to go to a new building, and when and how do you grow the building? Like how do you add floors if that's what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Like because there is a time to look at the glass ceiling and be like,
Yeah.
this is never going to be a 7-story building. We're stuck at 3 stories.
And
Like,
that's
I might need to go
yeah,
over there.
and that's something that you have to determine as an individual based off of. I know people that are fine with being in that same company for the next 20, 30 years,
Sure.
knowing that they'll never grow, they'll never have promotions, and they're fine with it.
Yeah.
And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you're good with that, that's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you're necessarily even complacent. Because people will try to guilt you into, well, in your company, there's no room for growth and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but if you're
From a certain point of view.
Yeah, but if you have
Yeah.
fulfillment and you like what you do and you're giving glory to God for the opportunity that He gave you and you're working hard every day and you're
Right.
making your place a better environment, who cares about the title? That's the other thing. People get sucked into titles like it's a game changer. Titles don't mean anything. Like,
No.
that's the thing. Like, titles don't mean anything. And I don't need a title to do what I do at Echelon Front.
Right.
Okay, so I'm the chief training officer. All right, cool. As the company grows, what's the next step? VP, and then president? Nothing changes
Right.
with what I'm doing. It's changes in titles because the organization is growing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we also don't have to do that. It's like, cool, you do your job, you get compensated for working hard and doing the right thing. That's all that should be, that's all that matters. I'm not changing houses, I'm building the house that I'm a part of.
Yep.
And that's what I'm doing with Echelon Front. That's what I'm doing with Loyal Calico on the path training, and any other projects that I'm a part of or going to be a part of. Those are supplemental to what I do at Echelon Front.
Yeah. And I think that that's an important thing. That like, okay, so if you hit a glass ceiling at a place, then there's always room for growth and expansion depending on how much effort and time you want to put into something.
Yes.
And some of that comes down to the like wanting to grow the building. But there is one of my favorite memories from childhood is we had a dog and we didn't have a doghouse.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't spend a lot of time outside. But my brothers and I were like, you know what, we're gonna build a doghouse. And we built the most terrible doghouse that you've ever seen. But we went out and we rode our bikes to Home Depot.
Yeah.
We figured out a way to rig up one of the Home Depot carts to our bikes, and we rode it home, stole that cart with all the wood on it, and used some ratchet straps to attach it to the bike seats.
Acquired it.
Right, yep. And then we took it back.
Yeah.
Right.
So you bought it.
Yeah, we borrowed it.
Okay.
So got it home, which was a just incredible mistake to try to ride with that to the house. But built the doghouse and then, took the stuff back, and then we came. Dad hadn't seen us all day. We walked in, we're like, hey, Dad, we built the doghouse. And then came back in and he looked at it and he was like, he knew it was shoddily done, but he was like, you know what, guys, good job. And then the next weekend he went out, helped us fix the doghouse, and now it's still in their backyard, like to this day.
Dude, that's awesome.
There is a bit of like hitting that glass ceiling where you're like, you know what? There isn't a place for me to go up, but I could build the doghouse in the backyard and create something new that now adds value to everything else that we're doing. And now there's somebody who can take responsibility to like go and be out there. It was our sister's dog. And so now she's out there taking care of that. We've moved on to other things, and I've now provided and made an opportunity. And you can do the same thing within your company and your organization.
Or you know, think about it like, okay, so
Just don't steal the cards.
it's not growing and getting taller and taller. Well, can you do some renovations on the inside and make it even better?
Yeah, we want to add a mother-in-law suite.
Yeah, I mean, you're just, you know, so it's what my parents did. It's what they taught us to do is to be thankful for the opportunity that you have, to make the most of what you have. You know, I think of it like when my dad did construction and cooking his whole life. And so he owned his construction business, but then he was also a chef. He was a chef working for other people. And he was never going to own those restaurants. He was never going to own the Hilton hotels that he worked at or other, you know, hotels and the golf courses that he had helped open up restaurants. But he made those restaurants an absolute incredible environment because that's the right thing to do. And it wasn't about the title. It wasn't about, you know, promotions or anything else like that. No, those were great when he got those promotions and an increase in pay. But you know why he got an increase in pay? Because he earned it.
Yeah.
He actually went out there and put in the work and created value. It's when you create value, that's when we start to receive the things that we deserve.
Yeah.
So anyways, I like that question. I like the tangents we went on. So
It was a fun path.
it was good. And there's some things that we can circle back on some future ones. So, hey, we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate the comments, the questions that we have. We appreciate the support. If you got value out of this, let us know in the questions, in the comment section. And, copy, paste, send it out to somebody. We appreciate it. I hope you guys are out there getting after it and having a great week. And remember to go out there, put in the work, and to never settle.